Now in case the velocity of an object is changing at a uniform rate, sometimes what happens is object is moving with low velocity or high velocity. So what happens is on an average we take the average of both the velocities. So the average velocity is given by the arithmetic mean of the initial velocity and the final velocity for a given period of time, and its formula is given by average velocity is equals to u plus v by 2, where u is initial velocity and v is the final velocity. Next is the rate of change of velocity. What does rate of change of velocity say is we give the name to the quantity as an acceleration. So what is basically acceleration means is that how velocity is changing with respect to time. Is it decreasing or is it increasing? If the velocity is increasing with the time, we say that it is an accelerated motion. If the velocity is decreasing with the time, we say that it is an decelerated motion. So what is acceleration? Acceleration is simply the change in the velocity upon total time taken. So what is the change in the velocity? Now if the object is going initially at the speed u and finally at the speed v, then change in the velocity will be v minus u. Final velocity minus initial velocity, that will be the change in velocity. So change in velocity divided by time, that is the acceleration. A is equals to v minus u by t, and its SI unit is given by meter per second square or meter second raised to minus 2. Now same as if an object is traveling in a straight line and its velocity increases or decreases by equal amounts in equal time interval, then we say that acceleration of an object is uniform. Means object is traveling at an uniform acceleration. Next we need to learn is the different type of graph related to the distance, time and velocity. Let us first take a distance time graph for the uniform speed. Now what does uniform speed means? Uniform speed means that object will cover equal distance in equal time interval. For 2 seconds we can see it has covered 10 kilometers, for 4 seconds it has covered 20 kilometers, for 6 seconds 30 kilometers and so on. So after plotting the graph and drawing a line, what we will get is for a distance time graph of a uniform speed, the graph will be a straight line. Next is the distance time graph for non-uniform speed. For the non-uniform speed, what does it mean is that the distance time graph when taken, the object will travel unequal distances in equal time interval. So for equal time interval, when object travels unequal distances, we will get a graph somewhat like this. So over here you can see that at 2 seconds the distance is almost negligible. For 4 seconds it is still less than 10, but for 6 seconds it is almost nearer to 10, and similarly for 10 seconds if you will see it is nearer to 40. So for the equal time interval the object is traveling the unequal distance, so the graph will not be a straight line. Next is the distance time graph for an object at the rest. Now object at the rest, it means that the velocity of an object is 0. Object is stationary. Even though the time will go on running, the object will not cover any distance. If it is at 40, then it will be at 40 only. So what we will get is, for the distance time graph for an object at the rest, a line parallel to the x-axis. Next is the velocity time graph. In the velocity time graph, we can already see that if the object is traveling at a constant velocity, that is, it is in a uniform motion, then the velocity remains constant, means if it is 40, it will remain 40, even though whatever the time is. 1 hour, 40 kilometers per hour speed was there. 2 hours, speed is still 40 kilometers. 3 hours, still speed is 40 kilometers. So the speed or a velocity remains constant and we will get a line parallel to the x-axis for a uniform motion in a velocity time graph. And also we need to learn very important property for the velocity time graph is that the area under the curve of a velocity time graph will give us the distance traveled by an object. Means if I take point 1 t1 and point 2 t2, between these 2 points how much distance has the object covered, means from time t1 to time t2 how much distance has it covered. So then we will take this area and then calculate its area according to the mathematics, that is length into breadth, because whatever we have got over here is a rectangle. So whatever the answer will be, that is whatever the area we will get will be the displacement or the distance covered by an object. Next is velocity time graph for an accelerated motion. What does accelerated motion say? Accelerated motion means at equal time interval the velocity is increasing equally. Velocity is not constant. Remember this. Velocity is equally increasing in equal time interval. The same as we have done in the distance time graph for a uniform motion, same over here for a velocity time graph in an accelerated motion we will get a straight line. You can see that for a time interval 0 to 1 second its speed has increased 4 meter per second. Similarly for 2 second its speed has increased by 4 meter per second and that is 8 meter per second. So for equal time interval the velocity or the speed is increasing equally. So this graph is a velocity time graph for an accelerated motion. So all these types of graph, remember very carefully, and this is important, all these types of a graph you have to draw in your fair notebook of physics as a homework.